Well, let's start off with a very simple thing, and yet a very, very astounding thing. In my college days and my degree in philosophy, I actually took more credits in theology than I did in philosophy. The only reason I don't have a degree in it is because the school didn't offer a degree in theology. And at that point in time, I had no intention of using this information or knowledge. As I think I stated before, I came right out, went right into sales, and have been there ever since, 43 years, soon to be 44, and found myself exploring a little book in about 1975, 1976, which gave you an idea that was astounding at the time. You just sat there and you went, how can this be? But you just stopped and thought about it, and you went, it's not a matter of how can this be? How could it be otherwise? It's just a plain and simple truth. I was looking for a connection or a justification as to why the psychic might be possible. And what I came up with is I really started thinking about the things that were taught to me, and probably taught to you. The idea that God was infinite, omnipresent, omnipotent, all those things which I accepted, but I never really thought about. So I started thinking about it, and let's just take the word infinite, and this is going to be a little redundant from something else in the site, but let's take this word infinite and just figure out one simple thing. Somehow, some way, we have to be within that infinite spirit, because if it truly is infinite, if it truly is omnipresent, there is no such thing as being outside of it. So I went, what does that really mean? What are the other concepts that I had, or the definitions of that infinite spirit that I had learned over the past years? And I kind of took them and put them aside and started trying to think logically, and came up with a conclusion. And going back to what we've learned in the Bible, and I've learned in classes, whether it's at high school level or college level, was that old quote about we are made in the image and likeness of God. Now, you must at this particular point in time have realized that when it said that, it did not mean this physical body, okay? We're not the same as that picture that you find on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel of the bearded man, okay, with just great, great powers, okay? It's something other than that. But if we believe the truth in the statement, and we understand that we are made in the image and likeness of God, then let's examine what that image could be. Let's take a look at ourselves. Close your eyes for a moment and tell me what you see. It may just be dark. It may have some images swirling around. You may see some images that you don't understand, okay? But all of a sudden, you're going to find out that there's two parts to you. There's an I, which is the person who is right now doing the thinking and is trying to pursue a logical process. And there's the me. There's something there that image rests upon, okay? We call it the mind's eye. Some of the people who are involved in psychology or psychiatry talk about it being the gateway to the subconscious. But it's there. It's that mind's eye. It's that image that if I sit back and say, I want to create the image of another person that I know, then they're the image. It appears there, okay? And if you really stop and think about creating things, I don't care what you're doing. In other words, if you're going to take a trip to a store, you have to think about it. And when you think about it, maybe you visualize what the store looks like, okay? And, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. If you're a craftsman or creator of some type that has to create an object, whether it's furniture or a computer or whatever it might be, you see it here before you ever do anything physically. So the creative act is truly here. So now we're created in the image and likeness of God. Isn't it true that the creative act for that being is also the same? That it looks at its mind's eye, and being infinite living mind, which is how the Kabbalion describes it, that it creates an image on its mind's eye. All right? And that image consists of any number of vibrations, any number of characteristics in terms of the image. But at this point, the image begins to unfold, and it begins to develop, and it begins to develop along a logical process, or a process that is sequential in the way things happen. And if we are within that individual, that being, we rest on that image. Everything that you see around you is part of that image. That the all, which is what the Kabbalion calls God, that image that rests on that being's mind's eye. And the vibrations are either extremely high or low, but they begin to evolve, and they begin to take shape, and they begin to follow a normal consequence of their creation. But what does this mean to you? What does it mean in terms of your life, your day-to-day ideas, okay, and the concepts that you hold dear? What it has to mean is this: everything that you see around you is, in its innate and basic essence, is totally different than anything you have ever dreamed about. My friends, the universe is mental. It rests on the mind's eye of God, the all, whatever you would like to call him. And it is mental. Everything that you see around you is, in its basic nature, that form, that essence. And what does that mean? What controls it is mental. Your actions determine what your life is going to be, but those actions are a thought here before they ever take place in the physical or the day-to-day life. Or you've heard about the law of attraction. Where does the law of attraction take place? But here. You are using that principle, and maybe you're aware of it, maybe you're not aware of it. The universe is mental, what controls it is mental, and what you have to begin to do is to take control. Now, there are other universal principles which will begin to show you how to do that. We are going to start with some very simple ones, very basic ones, and we're going to move and show you how they interact and how the truth of that basic fundamental principle can completely change your life, can completely change the concepts that you have. It can change the way that you think about yourself, and maybe even more importantly, how you think about others. If you believe that that divine spark rests in you, then you have to believe that that divine spark rests in everyone else. And how should you treat them if you believe that divine, infinite energy rests and resides within them? Probably you should be treating them a lot differently than you are in the day-to-day life. And we're going to try and show you how the belief in yourself and others will make a big difference and will change everything. Thank you, and let's move on.